I think it depends entirely on the object and what's actually coming in. Some of these objects we've been talking about, these ion concretion, unless there is a conservator there, unless there is someone to actually take that X-ray, clean that corrosion off, then it's never going to be an artifact. It's never going to speak to anybody. And so the conservator is absolutely crucial in intervening with the object. Interventive or remedial conservation is an essential element of what that object needs, and then appropriate storage. But equally, there are other objects which come up from excavation, and really kind of what you need to do is not a lot. You need to sometimes realize that actually less is more. So for instance, last summer, we had a ceramic lamp come up from Nevin, and when it was produced it was relatively clean. We did a little bit of removing of soil, but not very much was necessary. Came from kind of a rubbly layer, so there wasn't much soil on it. But around the top part of the lip, we could see black marks, and the conservator's role was really to say, let's not clean any further. And as we later understood, initially we didn't understand it was a lamp. When we did understand it was a lamp, we realized that that was the soot from the burning of the wick. Now, that may contain molecules related to the fat or grease that was actually being burnt in the actual base of the lamp. So it was really important that we didn't do anything there, that we took a hands-off approach. The biggest threat to that particular object is physically, that because lots of people want to look at it and see it, that it's kept physically safe in a box so that people don't pick it up and wave it around. And in that case, it was one of those objects which we've had Camal do as a 3D image. We've supplied photographs of that to the National Museum of Wales, who have now recreated it, and you will see it, exact replicas, on display at St Fagans in the llys that they have recreated, kind of what people would have lived in 12th century Wales. So it was really understanding what the value of that object was in terms of information for people, and rather than actually having to intervene with the object. So conservation is, as I said, it's a balance of those skills about preservation, investigation and revelation. And it's about making that conscious decision, what's the thing that this object needs. And to do that, you have to understand about artifacts. You have to understand what their special qualities are, why they're important, what is necessary about them. And then think about, how do I preserve this, or how do I reveal this? And from my point of view, when I can see students doing all that, internalizing all those discussions, arguments, and saying to me, I think the best thing to do to this object is not to do anything, because if we do that, it'll damage it, or that, it'll be something will be lost. Other times, realizing, sometimes you think, oh, nothing survives. We had a student who was working at the York Archaeological Trust last summer on her placement, and a piece of Viking sculpture came up. Now, it had been buried for many years, and it had been in someone's rockery for the last 20 or 30, and it was covered with vegetation and soil and all the rest of it. But as it was cleaned, she recognised that by looking carefully down the microscope, there were traces of pigment. And so what she was able to do was, having cleaned it very carefully, she was able to plot those traces of pigment and work out that actually you could work out where the painted decoration had been on this piece of stone. Now, just that care, that attention to detail of looking carefully down microscopes at, of a large piece of stone, noticing the small traces of pigment, the care in plotting them all, and then working out what was originally there. That was a good piece of conservation work.